Hey y'all, it's Shantavia from Obedience Podcast.
And today we will be reviewing our friend of the show, Miss Shamek'o Barron, new book, The Lemon Spirit.
Yay! Yay!
That's right. Her new book is out and you should go get it. It is about living, coping, and overcoming anxiety.
She came out with this book recently in May, which if you guys didn't know, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and she wanted to release this book in May to make sure that she spreads awareness of mental health in the Black community. And this book specifically talks about living, coping, and overcoming anxiety, which, you know, we've talked about a lot on the show, which I suffer with anxiety. So this book was great and very needed in my life.
Now, being a person that doesn't quote unquote say that I have anxiety issues, this book still helped me for just life in itself. It has so many encouraging points from herself through the word of her testimony, and it helped just to help you get through life, ups and downs, and it is so encouraging and relatable. First of all, it seems as though Shamek'o is sitting there and she's talking with you and just having, just sharing her testimony through her book. It is simply uniquely amazing.
The book can be found on Amazon. We'll be sure to put the link below. It's only $13.99, so it's not a lot, and it arrives on time if you have Amazon Prime. And when I got the book, I instantly started reading because I was so excited. As you guys can see, I have marked the book up, and on the inside I have some notes and I have highlights because I went through this book. I studied it. It is a help, trust me guys. And so today we are going to review the book.
So let's get into it.
The book does start out with the definition of what a lemon is. So let me just read you what she wrote. Lemon, a yellow oval citrus fruit with thick skin and fragrant acidic juice. Bitter fruit, something that is useless and crappy, that was a total waste of money. A person or thing, especially an automobile, regarded as unsatisfactory, disappointing, or feeble. Something useless or defective.
So one thing I did want to point out is that each chapter, instead of calling it a chapter, she calls it a layer. And it's pretty much based on each layer that she had to go through with overcoming and coping with her anxiety and depression. So in layer 1, she shares a pivotal moment. She shares a moment of being a beautiful mess. And she comes to a turning point and she decides that she wants her insides to match what's on the outside. From there, she begins her journey of therapy and being free from the stereotype and stigma of therapy. If you haven't watched, go back to our series of therapy where she shared her journey. She shared her testimony and how to get over the overcoming of the stigma and stereotype of seeing a therapist. And also, go get the book. Okay.
And one of the quotes I really wanted to point out was, I've heard of functional alcoholics, but never heard of functional depression. And I was like, oh my gosh. I just remember from me personally, I was talking to my therapist one day and she just asked me, she was like, what is your stress level in a work week? And I just was like, probably a 9. And I didn't even think anything of it. And she was like, do you realize 9 is very high on a stress level? And I was like, I never even thought of my stress level. Like, I knew I was stressed, but I just like, you're stressed. That's what happens in life. You get stressed out. And I was literally functioning in anxiety and I didn't even know. And that quote just like really spoke to me because it reminded me of what I went through. I was just a functioning person who was struggling with anxiety, but I was functioning.
She also mentions that living our best life includes being mentally fit. If we're not fit in our minds can start overtaking our bodies. We can have that can lead to heart disease, stress, high blood pressure, diabetes, and all that stuff. So I think that's a great point to point out.
The next thing I wanted to point out is from the section that's called My Mask is Slipping. She talks about as she was going through her anxiety, and at one point she just wanted to owe her back. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I went through the same thing, because once anxiety starts, it kind of takes over your life if you allow it to. And especially in the beginning phases, you don't really know how to stop it or how to control it. And so you get to the point where you're so frustrated, and then at some point you're just like, look, I just want the owe me back. I can't function anymore. I don't know what's going on with me. Can I just have my old life back? And that like resonated with me as well. Just wanting to owe you back. But one thing I want to point out to anyone that's out there struggling with anxiety, take control of it. Don't let it control your life. The old you, yes, that may have been great, but this version of you is even better, especially when you figure out how to control your anxiety. Now you have a hold on your life, and your life is even better if you control your anxiety. So that's a word of encouragement for all my people out there struggling with anxiety, because I know how it feels. Trust me, I deal with it every single day, and you just have to learn your triggers. And if your triggers happen, you need to learn how to control it. And once you get like that good control routine, you will have your life back. And I'm not going to say your old life, because right now you're stronger than you were before. That's how I like to think of it. The next part of the book that I want to talk about is the section that she titled Time to Take Action. Oh my gosh, you guys. She asked, how do you tell someone that you don't feel good when literally what's going on you can't explain? Girl, you must be in my mind. Let me tell you guys, when my anxiety first happened, there was so much going on with me. Like, my anxiety affected me physically in every single part of my body. Like, at times I would think I was having a heart attack. I thought that I had blood clots. I thought that something was wrong with my thyroid. I thought I had cancer. Like, literally everything that could physically be wrong with you was wrong with me. I was losing weight rapidly. Like, it affected me extremely physically. And my doctors didn't have any idea. Like, I literally thought I was sick. And I will always tell people I don't feel good, and I would go to the doctors, and the doctors wouldn't find anything. They would run tests on me. I was going to 2 different doctors that were the same. I had 2 endocrinologists, 2 cardiologists, 2 primary care physicians, and I was just getting duplicate tests, duplicate x-rays, ultrasounds, and everything was coming back normal, but I still didn't feel good. And it's like, I know all of this is coming back negative and everything is okay with me, but I still don't feel good. What's wrong with me? So, I loved reading that chapter of the book.
So layer 2, bitterness. She mentions her life experiences and felt as though that she had to be the backbone for everyone and their source of strength. And you know what? That was a come to Jesus meeting for me. And I was just like, you know what? That's so true. Where do we get that stigma that we have to be strong for everybody and we can never be weak for ourselves? She also references Michael London's quote, bitterness is a result of clinging to negative experiences. I was just like, that is so true. So we got to be like, negative experiences, let's overcome those things. Okay. When I read that, I was just like, okay, open the doors of the church, because the sermon has been given. Okay. And I also love the fact that she is encouraging us to find our true value and our true worth, and it's found in God, because the things of this world can be so temporary, and the one thing that never changes is God. His word is going to stay the same, and he is never changing. Okay, let me stop before I start preaching. Okay.
So one important thing that she pointed out in the book is you have to know who to tell about your mental illness and who not to tell. And this is so true. I would share things with people, and they didn't understand anxiety. So the things that I was telling them that was going on with me, they would be like, or they would just start laughing, and it's like, hey, I know it sounds crazy, but you got to understand, in my mind, this was real. And so you have to protect yourself. You have to find people that you can confide in and who will understand. Even if they don't go through anxiety, they will at least be a listening ear and listen to what's going on in your mind. So it is really important to find the correct people to confide in. You even will have friends who will try to compare what you're going through their situation, and it's not, you can't, like, if you don't have anxiety, you cannot compare anything to what I'm going through right now, you know. So you have to find that stable support system who can help you, especially in your time of needs.
Also, she encourages us to have mottos within our lives. And she also shares some of her life's mottos. And she says that sometimes they're going to change throughout your seasons in your life. I won't be reading those today. That's where you do your job and go and get the living spirit. Okay.
And I think this is so good because it's just like memorizing scriptures that I talked about in our tips to grow closer to God during the quarantine video. I'll be sure to put a card up there if you guys haven't seen that. But in that video, I stated how you can use those scriptures when you're upset or you're in the moment. You can actually quote those scriptures in your head to actually remember to stand on the word of God. And so having a motto to stand on when you're anxious is great to me. And also having a motto to stand on when you're not anxious is good too, because it will remind you of how good that you're doing. And I've only come up with the motto that I will say when I'm in the season of being very anxious. And I think that it will really help me when I'm anxious because it reminds me about my emotions, and it reminds me about God as well. So let me read to you guys my personal motto. It says, feelings are real, but they lie to you. Stand on the word of God and Holy Spirit for the truth. So I think that is going to help me out a lot whenever I'm feeling anxious, because when I do feel anxious, it is based off a lot of my feelings. And, you know, your feelings lie to you. Within the book, she gives you little tips that will help you with your anxiety and how to cope, which I really love that part because it gets you to thinking about things that you didn't think about previously. So in one part of the book, she said, one thing about being depressed, we often focus on the negatives. What about the positive things in your life? Take some time to reflect. And I was like, that's so true. Like, let me sit here and think about everything that's positive going on in my life and not just think about the negative things, so I can actually be grateful for where I am in life. So I really sat down and I wrote in my book a list of positive things that's going on in my life that I can focus on whenever I'm thinking about, oh, I'm not where I want to be at in my life, or I don't know what I want to do in my life. I could be like, but look at what's going good in your life. So just to name a couple things. Number one, I put my relationship with God. I think that is a very positive thing in my life right now. And then second, the podcast and our YouTube page. I think that's a positive thing in my life. It keeps me mentally healthy. It keeps me close to God. It keeps me happy because I'm actually doing something that I enjoy. And it brings a lot of happiness to my life. And I'm also reaching people out there. We're reaching people. We have brand new subscribers. Hey, y'all. And then the last thing I wrote down is my health. Everything has turned around for me, and I'm very grateful for that. So those are just some positive things that I wrote down. Thank you, Shamek'o, for making me think about that, because I never sat down and really thought about, hey, what's the good things going on in your life? Because they're good, so you don't even think about them. So yeah, thank you, Shamek'o.
All right, so layer 3 is the blooming season. She teaches us to keep and to have a self-care routine and encourages us to practice this on a daily basis. I think that is so important to do something for yourself on a daily basis, and she absolutely does a great job at defining what it is to what self-care is in itself, because we can think, you know, we have to do something big and extravagant, but she does a great job of going through that and teaching us what it is. And I think it's important to also do it on a daily basis, because we can go back to layer 2, which is bitterness, and we can go bitter like the last layer / chapter in this book.
The next thing I want to talk about is another tip that she gave. So she said, once you recognize your bad experiences, it is time to move forward. So the bad experiences that you went through as a child, take those, write them down, and then look at your list and say, okay, all of that happened to me. Now let me figure out how I can get past each one of these issues and become the better person that I am designed to be. So that really made me think, like, own your bad experiences and control them. Don't let them control you. Anything that has affected you negatively, take it, gain control of it, and don't let it own your life. Trust me, guys, you don't want negative things to own your life, because it only holds you back. It has a control over you, and it won't let you move past it. It'll create fear. It'll create anxiety, what we're talking about in this book. So I think it's really important to be aware of the trauma and the bad things that happen to you, because sometimes you're not even aware.
Layer 4, which is still right. She let us know that we can have our moments of relapsing at times, but it is all a beautiful process. It doesn't have to be a perfect process, but keep progressing and keep working at your progress. It's a daily thing. I think that's so important, because you have to get up every day and choose to fight and to win, even with your daily spiritual warfares, or with your decisions, and do what's right.
At the end of the book, shamek'o shares her mental health playlist, and I think that this is a great thing to do. I actually didn't have one. I just had like a worship playlist. So I actually decided to go through my music library and make myself a personal mental health playlist, and I can share with you guys one song that I did add. I added I Am by James Fortune, and that song is just, it just reminds me that God is whatever I need. I already have whatever I need in Him. So yeah, I may be anxious right now about something I don't have, or anxious about something I don't know, but guess what? I have everything I need right now with God. So y'all need to go listen to that song. Trust me, and add it to your mental health playlist as well. And then the last thing that I want to talk about that shamek'o actually inspired me to do is not in her book. This was actually a conversation that we had during the taping of our quarantine follow-up episode with her. She talked to me about how she was having all these ebooks, and she was working on a book, and all these advances that her company was taking, and I was like super curious as to how she has so much time to finish everything that she does on top of her 9-to-5 job as a store manager. Now, I've worked at a grocery store before, so I know managers are busy. So I was so inspired by how much she was actually getting done. And she told me, you actually make time for what you want to make time for. And I was like, oh my God, that's so true. If I want this podcast to go as far as it can go and reach as many people as it can reach, then I need to work on it. I need to spend 1 to 2 hours a day, like she said. She actually told me she spends 1 to 2 hours working on her business a day. And I actually implemented that into my life. Like now I spend 1 to 2 hours minimum on the podcast and the YouTube page just to make it better. So that has been a great blessing to me, shamek'o, when you did share that with me. So I really thank you.
I absolutely love this book. shamek'o is doing a wonderful job at breaking the stigma and the stereotype of mental health. She lets us know that, therapy doesn't mean that nothing is wrong with you. It means that you are aware and you know that you need some help. It's great. I think this book is great. It is great for any person. You don't have to be going through any anxiety or depression issues to get this book. I would recommend this book to everyone. And not to mention, she does a wonderful job at highlighting some things that we all go through. And I just want to thank you, shamek'o, for writing this book. Obedience Podcast would like to thank you for acknowledging us in the back of your book. That's right, we are acknowledged in the back of the book. Right there. So thank you so much for taking the time out to acknowledge us, Also want to thank Shamek'o for giving us our award in recognition of using our platform to bring awareness to mental health in the African American community. So thank you so much to New Minds Mentorship. Thank you, Ms. Shamek'o.
Guys, please stop right now. Go purchase the book.
What you wait?
We promise you it's going to help you. It is going to bless you. We promise.
Go on and do it.
As always, be obedient, and we'll see you guys next time. Before I leave, let me grab my lemon and let me hold it up.
Bye.